Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Amen. We continue our walk through St. Bonaventure's on the soul's ascent in God. Take on chapter 2, Contemplating God and His Vestiges in the Sense World. Here St. Bonaventure moves beyond the attempt to understand how creation is a reflection of God, a footprint of God, the vestiges of God, and asks the bigger question, how the sense world enters into the soul. In order to do this, he first points out that what's around us is a macrocosm. Cosm meaning world, cosmos. It's a great world around us, and we look with a telescope and see as far as we can, the stars beyond, and as far as we can tell, the universe just keeps getting bigger and bigger. But somehow, we human beings are unique as microcosms. We're small worlds. We're able, in this little tiny mind of ours, to somehow take all of the galaxies within. The stars can fit in our head. And this causes him to wonder. It's a marvel that our senses, in particular, I'm speaking of the sight sense here, we're able to take in the reality that we know, all of it, every bit of it. It's a profound reality to consider. He goes on and says, there are some things in this world that generate other things, and there are some things that are generated, and then there are some things that control the generating and the regeneration. So you can think of the things that generate as kind of simple things, like the elements: fire, water, earth, air. And from these simple elements are generated complex elements, things that are composed of many different things, different molecules now in a contemporary context. So you have plants, you have animals, and you have humans. These are generated things. These things are ruled by something beyond that. The principle of generation that rules generating and being generated. And these things are souls. And there are souls that are less complex, such as souls connected to plants. There are souls that are immediately connected to the bodies, like animals. And when the animal dies, the soul dies with it. I'm not getting into that theory, that's simply what Bonaventure says, okay? I won't go there. Next, there are creatures that the soul, the moving part, can also be attached, but then leave. And that's humans. And then finally, there are pure souls. And so, what Bonaventure sees is that somehow there is a greater to the lesser experience of souls, and these souls are able to somehow move our reality. And so when we pay attention to these movements, especially with our senses, these senses become doors that allow the external world to enter into our souls. These movements become our very own movements. And what we see on the outside, we are able to reproduce within the inside. Now the things, of course, don't enter into the soul themselves, right? If I'm thinking about this here podium, I close my eyes, there's a podium, I see it. But guess what? It's not this podium. It's not the physical thing. But the likeness of the podium enters into the soul. The thing itself does not enter into the soul, the likeness. And he notes that this causes pleasure. It's pleasurable to contemplate the things that are beautiful, the things that enter into our souls. These likenesses enter into our memory and our imagination, and they create an understanding of these things, these forms, in a way that's beautiful. The beautiful is understood because of its proportion. We talked about this yesterday. Proportion is a bit of art, isn't it? We go into a room and we see a well-kept room, and we understand that the proportion of the room somehow relays beauty. And we understand in this, as I pointed out yesterday, that order is better than chaos. And so, the beautiful enters into the imagination according to its proportion, and we think about that proportion. And this we call art. We consider the proportions and the harmony and the beauty that enters into the mind, and this we call art. As we judge what is transpiring around us, we like to sit out in the woods and watch animals, don't we? We like to watch how certain things, these souls, can move these little birds and make them fly and make them chirp. We look at the little ants and how instinctively they're intelligent. The little souls are purposed for a particular end. And we see in this God's handiwork. And this enters into our souls, and we begin to think, why is it beautiful? Why is good proportion pleasure? We find the beauty is the proportion and the harmony. Now, what we notice is this. It doesn't change in the mind. Regardless of size, the thing does not change in weight. It does not pass away as a thing does. Nor is it altered by motion. The thing that enters the mind is unmovable, unalterable. The physical thing can be destroyed, but the thing that enters the mind is unmovable. Consequently, it's unchangeable. It's unlimited. It's endless. Bonaventure says it's completely spiritual. But only God is completely changeless. Only God is perfectly spiritual. Only God is perfectly beautiful. So, these ideas that enter the mind, that don't change by the movement of the created world around us, are the likenesses of God. They're an experience within the human soul of the likeness of God. This is profound. Because we meet God in His boundless qualities in our mind when we experience these thoughts. In my own thinking, we can consider art as the likeness of the beauty of God. So art's not purely subjective because it's derivative. It derives from an absolute person. Absolute in the sense that God is unchanging. Art is personal because it derives from the person of God, the Holy Trinity. But it's not purely subjective and relativistic. It's actually grounded in who God is. For this reason, art can actually be objectively and personally bad or good. There is such thing as bad art. There is such thing as good art. It's not simply something that we can say is good or bad according to my personal judgment, because beauty itself does not come from my personal opinion. Beauty is a himself. Beauty is a himself. It is God himself. So art is an expression, if it's done well, of the eternal beauty of God. Music, if it is done well, is an expression of the eternal beauty of God. So there is good music and there is bad music. There is more good music and there is more bad music. I don't know where to put country. Okay? Not quite sure yet. A brilliant philosopher of the 17th century, his name was Sorokin. He was writing about, 18th century. He was writing about the downfall of Western civilization. Do you know what he said? It corresponds very well with what Bonaventure thinks. He said, "You will know that we are in the final stages of the collapse of Western culture when it becomes purely sensate." What does that word mean? Sensate means sensory. When art becomes nothing more than physical representations of nothing but themselves, then we know that our culture is lost. We know that culture is lost. Why do we love to come into a beautiful church? Because this art is not simply representing itself as a window into the heavenly beauty of God and the eternal kingdom. This is what makes good art. And that's why we want to be a part of it. And that has been the vast majority of Western civilization's appreciation of art and music. The theories get a lot more deep than that, but that's a good foundation for it, okay? But he points out, he actually talks about this. When art becomes simply what's bigger, what's most, then you know something's gone wrong, right? It's not just about bigger and most, it's about proportion. It's about harmony. It's about reflecting the eternal beauty of God. In conclusion, to the senses, our souls are able to perceive the eternality and beauty of the divine. From here, we must move further into the soul to find the divine image stamped therein. This will be our topic tomorrow. The contemplation of God through his image stamped upon natural powers of the soul. Powers of the soul. Lord of Jesus Christ.